Hi there, I'm Julie, and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. In just a moment, you're going to get to watch the Simply Saturday video where I teach you how to make this card. But I also wanted to tell you about something fun that's coming up. I am going to be hosting a card swap. Now, I just did one in June and the beginning of July, and it was a lot of fun. And so we are going to now do a second card swap. The theme of this swap is fall, which means that you can make a Halloween card, a fall looking card, or a Thanksgiving card. It doesn't matter. Any of those will apply. And the cards are due to me by August 15th. So you have a full month to work on your card and get it sent through the mail in time to make that August 15th deadline. I hope that you'll consider participating. If you have any questions, just get a hold of me. This is a make one and get one, or a send one, get one card swap. So you only have to make one card to participate and you will get one back. I'll put some details below the video as well. Have fun watching the card tutorial. Hello, and thanks for joining me on this episode of Simply Saturday, where I'm going to show you a card that is fast and easy to make. My name is Julie, and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. For today's card, we're using orange and green and yellow. It just feels so summery and so bright. And I wanted to let you know that we will be using stamps from both Sweet Blooms and the majority of our stamps from Pretty Florals. We are going to be doing quite a bit of stamping today. Sometimes a quick card happens because of the designer series paper. Today, we are not using any designer series paper, but we're going to do our background with some stamps. So let's get started. As I jump into my stamping, I do want a piece of scratch paper. And I had a piece of grid paper earlier today while I was stamping. And I must have used it up and thrown it away. So I'm grabbing just a piece of printer paper that will work well. All right, we're going to do our stamping on this piece, but I will tell you about the other pieces so that you can make a list if you want. I'll also put some information for you below this video in the drop-down box. So our card base this time is thick, basic white cardstock, 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and it is scored and folded at 4.25 inches. It's a very standard size card base. We use it a lot. Then I have a piece of Granny Apple Green cardstock. Now, if you already have Julie's layering templates, and I hope you do, this is actually a template size 1, and this one is a template size 3. Okay, here is my layering template, and you can see that it's 3.75 by 5, which is a layering template number 3. If you don't have my layering templates, you can inquire about those. All right, so this is going to be a background piece that's going to go on here, but we're going to do something kind of fun and different before we glue it on, and then we'll do our stamping on this card, or this piece. All right, so I am going to make a random print on this piece. I'm going to start with Timid Tiger. And I'm going to start with this stamp, which is the detail part of a trio of stamps. Then we'll come in afterwards with the basic shape of those flowers. These two work together to create our image. All right, so with Timid Tiger, I am going to change up the position of my stamp, creating a random pattern, stamping off the edge, which is why we have that, that scratch paper underneath. So between turning of the paper and turning of the stamp, I'm getting the different images all which way. All right, so there we have that. Now let's add to that. I thought about using Darling Duckling. In fact, I did stamp it on a test piece, and it wasn't what I was looking for. Darling Duckling has a lot of green in it, and it was not quite as crisp and bright as I wanted. So I decided to use lemon lolly for this next part. Now I'm going to stamp right over the same little trio of stamps, lining up my flowers, and this is going to give us the complete flower. Look at how pretty that is. The easiest way to do this is just to look for that large flower each time. Line up the shape of the flower stamp and stamp it right on time. So you can see down here I only have the one large flower. The rest hangs off the paper. That's fine. And on this one, I only have the two smaller ones. So we'll line those up and let the big one hang off. I think you get the idea. Two-step stamping is probably my favorite. I like the bright, colorful images that you get just by using ink pads and not having to color. That said, I really do love coloring too. So if two-step stamping is my favorite, it's only by a little bit because I don't mind coloring either. Sometimes this is faster though. If I know that I'm not going to have a lot of time to sit and really kind of be artsy with my Stampin' Blends and do some coloring, I will reach for a stamp set that is two-step stamping. All right, now we're going to add a little bit of filler, and I did make this card previously. And what I did is I took my green marker. This is just my Stampin' Right marker in Granny Apple Green. And in between all of these flowers, I did little sets of 3 dots with my green. Okay, I really like a dotted polka dot background. And so that's what I did, a few singles, a few trios, like so, and I completely filled in the card. On this one, I wanted to try something different and just use my stamps, not take all the time to put those dots. I will show you that card at the end, but instead, I'm going to reach for a tiny little leaf, this little leaf sprig from the stamp set, and we're going to use that as filler. So I'll mount that on a block. I'm going to use my Granny Apple Green ink and just fill this in. The leaves are not meant to like actually be part of the flower. They are just going to be filler. And right now, before I stamp it, I'm trying to decide if I want it full strength or stamped off. You know what? Let's do some of each. So I'll do a full strength one and one that has now been stamped off. And full strength. Now, one thing you want to be careful of, I stamped that whole image, and so I can go ahead and stamp that whole image again without re-inking, and it looks beautiful. When you stamp on the edge like this, it's very difficult to stamp the second time and get it to look right because it's going to look half inked and half not, and sometimes you get a line in it. So now when I want the stamped off look, I'm going to ink the whole stamp, stamp it off, and then add my lighter color like so. All right, we'll put a dark one here and a light one here. Let's put some dark down here and light. I'm going to redo that. Light in here. I think we need, let's put dark up here and a light one in here. That might be all we need. Okay, so there we've got some green and our yellow and orange. I think it's beautiful. As I'm taking one more look at it, I'm going to put a light right on the edge here. Ooh, I almost didn't stamp it right. That'll work. And a light one here. This is always the danger because sometimes you do a little bit and then you feel like you have to do a little more. All right, there is our background. Okay, the next thing, this is going to go onto that green piece of paper that I have since misplaced. Here it is. But before we do that, we're going to do a little bit of distressing on this. Now, If I had my if I had my acrylic nails on, which I'm only about 2 weeks out from getting them back on. I really miss them. If I had those on, I could do this with my nail, but my natural nail is not super sturdy. So you can decide. You can do this method with your fingernail if you like, or what I'm going to do is reach for my metal ruler, my little 6-inch metal ruler, and I'm just going to drag it along the edge of my green cardstock. What I want to do is just distress it, make it look a little crunchy. A little bit beat up. So I'm going to go all the way around all 4 edges, just distressing, pressing, pushing as I go. And I am using a little bit of pressure on this to break down the edges of that cardstock. Now you can do this obviously as much or as little as you want. You can even skip it if you don't want to distress your cardstock. I'm going to go back and make a few more distressed edges, just here and there. And then we can add this to our card front. All right. That just gave me a look that I wanted to give it a little bit of a rougher look alongside something so clean and pretty. And it almost makes the edges of the cardstock curl up a little bit and frame this nicely. So I've got a little bit of texture and rough, and then this soft, beautiful floral print. Let's put all that together. All right, for our fast and easy version of this card, I've got some circles here, and I die cut those from Stylish Shapes, which is this set of dies. So I've used 2 sets, the ones that would nest right here, to cut out these circles. One is Timid Tiger, one is Basic White. I'm going to do some stamping, some quick stamping on that white circle. And the reason that I mentioned this being the fast and easy version that I'm showing you, since it is Simply Saturday, I am trying to show you the fast and easy version, but I did make this card with some more die cuts, and it came out very, very cute, and so I do want to show you. It's basically this card, but stepped up. All right, I even think that's pretty. You could put just a word stamp on there, and it would be quite effective. Okay, so there's our card so far. The next step is to do a little bit of stamping on this white piece. And this is where I'm going to continue with some 2-step stamping. I'm going to bring in this little set of leaves for my group of 3 flowers. And I'm going to stamp it off and then onto my circle. Like so. Next, and earlier I did the orange with the detail first and then the yellow afterwards. I'll show you that it works either way. So it's really personal preference as to which you do first when you're doing your 2-step stamping. Do you like to do the shape and then add the detail, or the detail and then the shape? Honestly, it depends on the stamp set. I don't have one set way that I do it. I thought on this one it worked better to do the detail first, but I'm going to show you that you can do the shape first and add the detail after. Either way. All right, there we've got our little bunch of flowers. This is going to get attached to our orange circle. Easy peasy. Now I've done that flat because I will put the orange circle onto the card with some dimensionals. And then we just need a word stamp. I should have a little scrap of white cardstock here. Yes, I do. And so on here, we're going to stamp hello. I was really thinking about which color to use, and I went back to black. And now at the last moment, I'm going to switch to Secret Sea instead, which is a dark, dark blue that I am finding that sometimes I use when my first instinct would have been to use black. Okay, I've stamped that just on a scrap of white cardstock. It doesn't matter what size it is because we're going to trim it down. I'm going to trim the top and the bottom because I want this narrower. If you're unsure about doing this with scissors, of course you could use your little paper trimmer, which I probably should have done. I'm not very good at cutting straight. It wouldn't have taken that much effort to get that out. And goodness, I do think it looks crooked. So let's correct it. I thought I could do it. I thought I could, but it looks crooked to me. So I'm going to use my trimmer. Let's go ahead and get some of this off. I'm going to straighten out above the words because it looks crooked to me. I only need a smidge off of here. And you guys will see if I have to do the whole thing over again. All right, that cleaned it up. Thank you very much. And let's see about this side. That cleaned that up. Oh, thank goodness. All right, we don't have to begin again, which really wouldn't have been a big deal. It's a scrap with one word on it. Let's be real. Okay, I am going to put a little angle on this just to make it a little interesting, and here as well. So that's a funny thing that just happened. I have one of those little robot vacuums that goes around and vacuums my house. And although I knew that she was doing her job, I didn't expect her to come into the room to clean her little dustbin out. And that's what just happened. So if you want to know about my robot vacuum, just inquire because I love it. Here we go. We've got our card front that's finished, easy, fast stamping. We have our little accent piece that's going to go on here with a few dimensionals. And we will add our little hello that we created with the help of the trimmer. I'm a little bit torn if this should have been stamped off like I did it or if it could have been dark. I think either way would have been a safe bet. Now I'm going to add my little words right here. What I want to point out is when it's attached to this part is already raised because I used dimensionals, but this part over here needs a dimensional so that it's the same height. So what I like to do is just put a mini dimensional on the end that needs it, and a teeny bit of glue on the end that does not need it. It doesn't need to be raised because it's going to be sitting on this and it's already raised. Like so. All right, there it is, fast and easy, but you, I know, are thinking like I am that this needs rhinestones. So we're going to add a few rhinestones. We're going to use some of the large ones. So I'm going to add one here. And here. And then a smaller one. This is actually the medium size. And I'm going to go ahead and put it right here. So they're roughly in a triangular shape. You can see that, and that is very pleasing when your eye looks at the card. All right, so there we have our lovely Fast and Easy card. You could make this for any occasion. Since it says hello on the front, of course, you could add something more specific on the inside. You could add a happy birthday greeting, a thinking of you, congratulations, just whatever you need for that particular card. Let me show you the other one that I made. Okay, I'm going to show you two more. Here is the same card. This is stamped in black. I think I like the secret C, so that's interesting. But this was the background with the 3 dots made with the marker. So if you don't want to do the stamping for the greenery, you can definitely do the little trick with the marker and make groups of 3 and then a few single ones in between if you need it. And then this one, which I absolutely love, started out the same, and then for the focal image, I did a different way. I did some die cutting, and these dies are from the Pretty Florals. Okay, this is the large flower and the detail, also the leaf and the bunch of leaves. And then to make it stand out a little bit, I added it on a white die cut circle. So there you have it. There are some fun card designs for you to try out, and I hope you do. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy stamping.